Good evening, everyone. Today we have a distinguished personality in our channel, Professor PC Pattanaik. A brief introduction of Professor PC Pattanaik is he is a professor in Delhi University, Department of Modern Indian Languages and Literary Studies. So, welcome in our channel, sir.
Okay, thank you. Thank you.
Guys, today's topic the cultural diversity of India and the idea of oneness. So, sir,
Right.
my first question to you is please explain what is the cultural diversity and how do you conceive oneness?
Vivek sir, and thank you for giving me this opportunity to speak on a subject that is very close to my heart. And people talk about diversity, and we are aware of the slogan that unity in diversity. But here I will take you to a different directions under this discussion is to me the diversity is beauty. So we are dealing on the beauty, and this diversity is only the diversity of culture we are focusing under this topic. The cultural diversity of our country, the beauty lies in the diversity, and irrespective of the diversity, we have certain commonalities that takes us to conceive an idea of oneness. And the idea is very simple how to talk about this. And if we see this topic, cultural diversity of India and the idea of oneness, I find there are three sections in this topic. One is the cultural diversity. And when we talk about cultural diversity, we are supposed to know about the culture a little. And then this cultural diversity, we are referring to our country, that is India, and how there are certain common elements, irrespective of having diverse culture with us, there are certain common elements that makes us one. And we are trying to find out common elements in order to justify oneness in that. This is simply the topic in a very simple words. We have cultural diversity, and irrespective of diversity, we are leading towards finding the oneness that we have one culture in India, that is Indian culture.
Sir, what do you see in Indian culture?
You see, the culture, as we know, is a very big terminology. If we attempt to discuss or define culture, will end in nowhere. There are many people who have tried to define culture, and it has enormous definitions. But to me, not even one single definition is complete in itself. So what I try to put it in a very simple way, without trying to give you a definition of what culture is or definition of culture. I want to say culture that what I carry throughout my life. When I born in this society, I learned certain things, and learned is not may not be the appropriate word. I have acquired certain things because and culture is one among them. Why do I say acquired? Acquired means no one has taught me. Even my parents have not taught me the culture. Whatever I have seen in the surroundings, in my society, in the environment, and with the elders, I have tried to inherit that. So I have acquired. Therefore, it is a very vast term. If we say that culture is something that can be taught, that cannot be taught to me. It has to be experienced. It has to be acquired, and then you carry throughout your life. And no one teaches at any point of time. Now, the thing is how we see culture. We see culture in three ways. First is the cultures are the properties of the people. This is we are not talking about the culture of the animals or culture about of the animal world. We are talking about the culture, and that culture is the culture of human being, culture of people. And when I say people, it is not one person. I cannot say the culture of one person. It has to be a community. The culture goes with the community, not with the individual. And when I say community, definitely that community is living in a particular land, particular area, particular geography. So people land, and when the community is inhabiting for long on a particular geographic sphere, geographic area, definitely in their way day-to-day life, the surroundings play an important role. Therefore, whatever we see behind us, with us, and where we have surrounded by many things, all are the part of culture. You see, we cannot ignore. I have come to this land. I cannot ignore a tree because tree has some contribution in my life. The forest has some contribution. The mountain has some role to play. The rivers contribute, we know. And therefore, when time comes, we start worshipping them. And that becomes the part of culture. So when I say culture, I'm linking with land, people, and surrounding. Then the question is, how do we go with the culture? There are two ways. One to the practice and another to the expressions. Certain things we do not tell people. From our behavior, from our practices, people come to know. So certain things we have no way, we have to express, where we involve ourselves in kind of discussion, the way we are discussing now. And all oral tradition materials are part of expressions. And expressions not only goes orally, it also goes through art and crafts, through paintings. The what is important is when a painting is done by one person and who belongs to a community, if similar paintings are found in that community and produced by other people, that is not the property of that individual, that becomes the property of the community. So I have been insisting that referring to the folk and the community is the culture is not individual product. It is the product of the group. It is the product of the community. So whenever there is a migration, when this community goes to another part of the world, they automatically carry their culture. And they don't do it deliberately. The culture follows it. But when we divide that, tangible and intangible aspects of culture, we carry only, in case of migration, we carry on the intangible part of this. But the tangible part remains the same, that the objects, the mountains, the rivers, they remain there. But what we carry special love and attraction for those things. Then in our day-to-day life, we have many practices. We have follow certain practices because we believe certain norms. We believe certain norms, and to the people of other community, that may not be important. But to my community, if my community believes certain things and I am following that, that is important. So when we talk about culture, the position of culture in the society, there is nothing like that. Some people talk about high culture, low culture. I personally disagree that because I am nobody to rate others' culture as low culture and my culture as high culture. So culture has equal status in all the community, just the way we treat the language in India. Particularly when there are different community groups, different communities in India, and particularly a larger section of indigenous communities in India, we cannot argue that one culture is high culture, another culture is low culture. So the culture is important. The way one language is not superior than other. So culture one carries, culture one acquires, culture one displays through his or her behavior, and we are controlled by the culture without knowing the importance of that. In every moment of our life, we are actually controlled by the culture. because this is what my culture doesn't permit. So I am not going to do that. And when we look at others we say no, that is their culture, not is my culture. We try to make a distinction. But there are some core elements, and there lies the question of oneness. There are core elements of culture which are common to all communities. If we divide our country south, north, east, and west, these are four main division. Of course, we also talk about northeast. And when we divide or try to find out the groups, the people of India, they speak varieties of languages, and those languages come under different language families. There are major five language families. They belong to different racial groups. And within the racial groups, there are different communities, and the name of the communities goes with the name of language. So this is the arrangement. If we want to say that okay, the particular river is important to particular culture, it is not like that. The river starts from one point, it flows to a very long area, and in the river banks there are different people to inhabit, and to all of them belonging to different communities, that particular river becomes important. And the best example we have is river Ganges and the Tista in that comes from Sikkim. It is not the river that is worshipped by one community. This is worshipped by all the community. So we, in each and every element of culture, we find the commonality. And what happens sometimes, we say, okay, this is specific to that culture, that is specific to that culture. But when we see the core meaning of that element, how important is that element to that culture, that remains same everywhere. Another example, the food habit. Food habits of the people depends upon the availability. Those who are living in the sea, they may prefer fish, or those who are living in the plain areas, they are rice eaters. Those who are living in the forests or mountains, hills, they depend upon the forest product. So this is the arrangement. So we cannot separate surroundings from the culture. Therefore, we always require a interdisciplinary approach to study culture. One more example is the country medicine, which is very popular nowadays, and people have not only acceptance, the respect for that. Now, the other question comes whether anything is written about culture anywhere of a community. So my answer will be clearly no, because this is what they have inherited from their ancestors, their groups, their seniors, their elders, and they are trying to practice that. And there's any objection to accept, even if there are any funny rules, the people who are part of that culture have to accept that because they have to live in that society. So Aristotle said man is a social animal. So this nature of the culture, this property of culture makes the man a social animal or one among the society. Therefore, we don't find in if we go to indigenous communities, remote areas, people talk about we. So that becomes we. I and sometimes we becomes I. There is no difference between individual and the community. Individual is community and community is individual. So it is a vast, topic for discussion. I think for the present we'll stop here, and we can go for other questions if you have anything.
Sir, what do you think difference between the culture and multiculturalism?
You see, these are thoughts widely discussed now. The cultural diversity, yes, I could have actually focused more in the beginning on the diversity. You see, there is a particular land, and people of different culture inhabit in that particular land. It may be a smaller area or it may be larger area. It may be a district, it may be a village, it may be a district, it may be a state, or even more than it is a country. So they exhibit different cultures of their own. Each community is identified with the name of the culture, with the culture, and this is the culture of that community, each community. So one area, many communities displaying many cultures or subculture that creates a situation that is cultural diversity. And our country is the best example for that. We are people from different linguistic groups, different communities, linguistic communities, cultural communities, and all of them display certain kind of uniqueness in this culture. Therefore, if India is a country, it is known for cultural diversity along with linguistic diversity. But some people, even if you check Google, the information says it is a synonym of cultural diversity as multiculturalism. Multiculturalism as a synonym of cultural diversity, which is not correct. Multiculturalism is refers to the person, to the people, to the community that is exposed to many cultures simultaneously. Cultural diversity, the existence of many culture in a particular geographic space. But multiculturalism is the exposure of one individual to or a community to different culture simultaneously. And that we see in Delhi. We are exposed to different culture, but it does not display cultural diversity. It makes us, part of the multiculturalism situation. But here, another point I should bring into discussion, that is because we all know the pluralistic nature of our country, that is the cultural pluralism. And if we focus more on cultural pluralism, keeping in mind cultural diversity and multiculturalism, if we focus more on cultural pluralism, we understand how important cultural pluralism is. Cultural pluralism teaches us to respect others' culture. It is the principle of live and let others live. Respect your own culture and respect others' culture as well. Respect your own language, respect others' language as well. That is cultural pluralism. So I have respect for culture, I have respect for my culture, and I have respect for others' culture. I am nobody to blame others' culture and rate my culture as the superior culture or the high culture. So when we discuss cultural diversity, we are also we are compelled and we are supposed to discuss multiculturalism, cultural pluralism simultaneously because these three have sufficient link among themselves: cultural diversity, cultural pluralism, and multiculturalism. One is different cultures existing simultaneously in a particular geographic situation. Another is the people or the community exposed to different cultures simultaneously and making use of certain ingredients of other cultures in their cultures. And the third one is cultural pluralism. That is, we are supposed to respect others' culture while respecting our culture. So this is what is the difference between the cultural diversity and multiculturalism. I have added cultural pluralism to your question. Anything else, Vivekji? Hello, do you hear me?
Hello,
Huh? Yes,
sir.
please.
What do you? Yes, sir. What do you think about the speciality of Indian culture?
This is really, there are many points we can talk on. You see, imagine it is very difficult to take you the exact figure how many communities are there in India. How many languages are spoken in India? How many languages are used in India? How many languages are used in different spheres in India? What are the religious practices, different types of religious practices in India? And the best example, the uniqueness, I will personally, if I am given the chance to express my personal view, that will be the acceptance. And that the cultural pluralism has taught us. We accept, we accept everything. I'll give the example, one small example. What happens? People of different cultures are inhabiting for long in a particular geographic area. Suppose there is a case of snake bite. Before going to the hospital, we try to, give some kind of treatment by using the knowledge, indigenous knowledge of curing a patient. And at that point of time, we forget the indigenous knowledge through which the patient is cured comes from which community. We don't question that because our target is always to get cured. So we do that. We accept. We accept anything from others' culture that suits us. Therefore, USA and Italy is no more South India. That is fine India. Momo once upon a time was very popular in the northeast region, but this has become now a good breakfast item all over India. And once it is accepted, we find different things of that, different parts of that, different sub items of that. The original momo has now changed to paneer momo, vegetable momo, momo, and so many things. There are lots of experiment going on in those and this acceptance in the future. We another point is we don't question anybody because we accept, we don't question. That is our culture, and we carry certain things so much with us. Wherever we go with that cultural information. Best example is the two epics, Ramayana and Mahabharata. I don't think people have read Ramayana and Mahabharata. Many people have not read. But if you ask, do you know Ramayana? Yes. The answer will be yes. The Mahabharata, the answer will be yes. And Mahabharata we use so frequently at home. Even an ordinary fight becomes Mahabharata. And we don't have to explain that. If I say today I had a fight with my wife, I will change the word fight. Today I had Mahabharata with my wife, and you will understand that was a fight. No other country you will find this type of information around. Similarly, there are so many. You cannot say belief because that comes in the practice. We believe that anything bitter, taste bitter, is good for diabetes. And you go all over India, people give this type of suggestions that you have diabetes, take Karela, take Nimka Potta, take Benka Potta, irrespective of the differences in their culture, their caste, their religion, people are using. So the best thing is and sharing. We love sharing. So Indian culture is unique in many ways. Therefore, the beginning I said the cultural biodiversity is not important. This is the beauty of this country. We learn many things from different cultures, and we accept the good things from others. And sometimes we claim that it is our cultural product, which may not be true. You go to any household, you will find a bamboo item that is produced in Northeast. And this is because of the acceptance, because of the sharing nature. We also care for others. And there are many things, and that's a different topic. We can discuss, and everywhere we find some kind of uniqueness, which perhaps absent in others. The reason is there are not many communities. There are not many language speakers residing in that particular land, and that is how our land, Bharat, India, is different from others. Anything? Anything else, Vivekji?
Sir, can we think the preservation of culture?
There is debate going on that. But the basic has to be understood. How can we plan preservation? Sometimes we misunderstood the word preservation. We think that any kind of documentation is preservation. Suppose I have watched a performance, and that is the identity of a particular community. I have recorded it, audio recording. I am keeping it in the library. Then I cannot claim that I am contributing to the preservance of the performance or performance as the part of the culture. What I did is I documented that. And in the process of documentation, I have killed the tradition. Because the day I document it, that's the end. After that, I cannot add anything. And if I want the revised edition of that, I have to do it again. So that is not preservation, that is actually archiving of information. We are documenting, keeping it. You are going and collecting information about community and writing a book. There are so many sociological, anthropological documents available in print form. They are preservation. They are again documentation, and we are archiving the documented material. There are certain things available also through translation. As we are collecting in a particular language, that trying to translate into other languages, mostly to Hindi and English. We are doing that. And then keeping it as the resource material and arguing that we have preserved some material, preserved some information about the culture. That is right. There is no problem in telling that I have preserved some information about the culture. But at the same time, suppose I have recorded in 2020, I have to say I have preserved some important information of that culture of that particular community till to 2020, not after that. But when it comes to preservation, preservation lies in the hands of the community. And preservation goes with conservation and practices. They should be made huge. They should be actually performed every day. Then only it will be preserved. And nobody else can do the except the community that practices that particular cultural item can preserve that. Only that community, the responsibility lies with the community. So this is the way this can be preserved. Suppose a particular dance form or a performance, the community has to keep it, not the recorded materials we are keeping outside, or not the idea, not the way people are taking the idea and creating another performance art form. They are not actually preserving, they are documenting in a different mode. You can. So preservation lies only through practices and through use of that. The same is true to language. We cannot preserve the language unless it is made into use. The community has to use it. They have to speak it. Otherwise, the language cannot be preserved. But it can be documented.
It's such an important question to you, sir.
Okay.
So, we would like to thank you, sir, for coming and sharing a precious thought with us.
Vivekji, I am extremely
Thank
grateful
you.
to you taking initiative, and these are actually very good points of discussion. In future, we'll discuss on one point that will also give us some more information. Thank you very much. Thank you.
Okay, I'll mention, sir. Thank you so much, sir. Thank you so much. And guys, please stay connected with our channel, Unyan Sankalp Sahityik channel, and stay connected and like and subscribe in our channel. Thank you.
Okay, thank you.
साहित्यिक विषयों पर चर्चा परिचर्चा का यह दौर निरंतर जारी रहेगा। तब तक के लिए धन्यवाद।